It was 7:45 a.m. on a bitterly cold Tuesday morning in December. The wind whipped through the downtown streets, carrying tiny ice crystals that stung your face like needles. The city was still shaking off the night, streetlights glowing faintly against the gray sky, and everyone hurrying along with their heads down. Inside Brew Haven, a tiny independent coffee shop tucked between a boutique bookstore and an old record store, the line snaked about 8 people deep. Everyone looked half dead. Eyes glazed, scarves wrapped high, hands buried in coat pockets. We all stared at the chalkboard menu like it held the secret to survival. Steam fogged the large front windows, turning the outside world into a blurry watercolor. The espresso machine hissed and growled like an angry feline, pumping out that rich, nutty aroma that promised warmth and wakefulness. Soft indie folk music played low from the speakers, something with acoustic guitar and gentle vocals that made the place feel like a hug. And then, the door chimed. In walked this guy, tall, maybe 6'2", mid-30s, wearing an impeccably tailored navy suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Hair styled to perfection, not a strand out of place despite the wind outside. AirPods plugged in, blocking out reality, as if the rest of us were mere background noise in his important life. He scanned the line quickly, a faint smirk tugging at his lips, and strode straight to the counter. Not to the back of the line. Oh no. He marched right up to the barista like he owned the place. Quick question, he announced loudly enough for the whole shop to hear. What's the difference between medium and large again? The barista, Maya, a sweet 20-something with purple-streaked hair and a nose ring already swamped, paused and started explaining patiently. While she talked, he casually placed his order, tapped his card, grabbed his drink, and sauntered out. Just like that, leaving the rest of us standing there, jaws tight, a collective silent rage simmering beneath the surface. Too cold, too tired, too caffeine-deprived to confront him. Can you even imagine it? That quiet, bubbling fury before you've had your first sip? My name is Jordan. I'm 28. Work in marketing for a mid-sized tech firm downtown. Long hours, early starts, endless Zoom calls and campaign deadlines. My day doesn't truly begin until I've had my large oat milk latte from Brew Haven. This place isn't some soulless chain. It's special. Exposed red brick walls, mismatched wooden tables and chairs that look like they were collected from flea markets over years. Local art on the walls, abstract paintings and black and white photos of the city. The smell of freshly ground beans hits you the moment you open the door, mixed with hints of vanilla and cinnamon from the pastries. The baristas know most regulars by name and order. Maya always draws a little smiley face on my cup lid. There's Tom, the older guy who reads the newspaper in the corner every morning. Lisa, the lawyer who always orders a double espresso and complains about her cases under her breath. And Mike, the freelance graphic designer who sketches on his tablet while waiting. My one peaceful ritual before diving into the chaos of emails, meetings, and metrics. But then Greg showed up. I started calling him Greg in my head because he just looked like a Greg. You know the type. Classic finance bro vibes, probably in tech sales or private equity. The kind who thinks social norms are optional suggestions for lesser mortals. The first time he pulled the move, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he genuinely forgot the sizes. We all have brain fog mornings, but the second time? Identical script. Walks in, fake quick question about sizes or milk options, orders while the barista explains, pays, leaves. By the third time, I was livid. I felt my blood pressure spike as I watched him sip his perfect drink and glide out the door while the rest of us inched forward. The worst part? Nobody ever said anything. Who wants to kick off drama at 7:30 a.m. when you're barely functional? Confrontation would mean awkwardness, maybe defensiveness from him, discomfort for the baristas, and, worst of all, delaying everyone's caffeine even longer. So we all just seethed in silence, stolen glances, passive-aggressive sighs, tiny huffs and eye rolls, but no one spoke up. I started noticing him daily. Same window of time, between 7:40 and 7:50. Suit rotation, Navy, charcoal, navy, charcoal. Same smug half-smile when his trick worked. Same AirPods, always in, always ignoring everyone. He never made eye contact with anyone in line, like we were invisible, beneath him, and that gnawed at me deeper than it should have. I know, it's just a coffee line. Petty in the grand scheme. But there's something profoundly infuriating about unchecked entitlement. Someone who weaponizes everyone's politeness and pre-coffee vulnerability. Who exploits the unspoken social contract that keeps society civil. It wasn't the 2 minutes he saved. It was the disrespect. The silent declaration. My time is worth more than yours. I couldn't shake it. My mornings turned anxious. I'd enter the shop scanning for him. If he wasn't there, sweet relief washed over me. If I spotted him approaching through the foggy window, dread knotted my stomach. Anger mixed with helplessness. What could I do? Yell, "Hey, wait your turn," and risk him snapping back, making the barista uncomfortable, turning the whole vibe sour? No. Direct confrontation felt too risky, too explosive for that hour. I needed something clever, something that mirrored his tactic, fought fire with fire. Then, one freezing morning as I stood fuming in line watching him arrive, the idea crystallized. Perfect. Genius. Petty perfection. Why not beat him at his own game? The next day I arrived 10 minutes earlier, claimed a spot third in line, heart racing with nervous excitement. I saw him through the window, striding confidently, checking his Rolex or whatever. Door chimed. He scanned, started his march. But I was ready. I stepped out of line fluidly, like I'd suddenly remembered an urgent question, brushing past him to reach the counter first. Maya looked up, smiling. "Hey, Jordan. The usual large oat milk latte." "Actually," I said, projecting my voice just enough, "I have a bunch of questions today." I felt him freeze behind me, that energy shift, confusion turning to irritation. I glanced back slightly, his perfect brow furrowed. "Game on!" I leaned in toward Maya. "So, remind me, what's the exact difference between a latte and a cappuccino? Foam ratio?" Maya, ever patient, explained. More foam in cappuccino, equal parts espresso, milk, foam versus lattes mostly milk with a thin foam layer. I nodded thoughtfully. Interesting. And how much foam exactly in a cappuccino? Like centimeters? Does it vary by barista preference? What if someone hates foam? Can you make it 0? Greg shifted impatiently behind me. I could sense it without looking. Then I pivoted to milks. "Do you have oat milk today? Which brand? Oatly. Is it the barista blend, extra creamy? How does it froth compared to almond? Almond better or worse for latte art? Wait, soy options? Which do you recommend personally for lattes?" Maya answered kindly, used to chatty regulars. I kept rolling. House blend versus the single origin Ethiopian, taste differences? Is the Ethiopian fruity? What fruits? Berry, citrus? Pairing with the blueberry muffin? Speaking of pastries, walk me through the case from left to right. What's in that chocolate croissant? Real chocolate or compound? Layers, how many? Flaky or buttery? By now, Greg was visibly agitated. Arms crossed, foot tapping, aggressively checking his watch. I wrapped it beautifully. Wow, so much to consider. I'm gonna step back and think about it. Thanks, Maya. I returned to my original spot, now conveniently ahead of where he'd planned to stand. He stood there awkwardly at the empty counter, looking foolish. A couple people behind me smirked. One guy snorted quietly. Greg had no choice. Red-faced, he slunk to the very back of the line. AirPods suddenly fascinating. When he finally got his drink, he grabbed it without eye contact and bolted. I sipped my latte. Victory. Sweet, creamy, oat milky victory. Day 1, success. But Greg didn't quit. Next morning, same attempt. I beat him again. This time I escalated. Every syrup flavor, vanilla, caramel, hazelnut, pump standard. Half pumps possible? Extra hot or kids temp? Decaf options? Seasonal specials, pumpkin spice still available? Shop history, how long open? Owner's story? Maya's tenure? Favorite drink to make? I dragged it 5 full minutes. He waited, fuming. Back of the line again. Face burning. Day 3, same. But now others noticed. Lisa, the lawyer regular, smiled knowingly when I stepped out. Mike gave a subtle thumbs up from his table. A quiet alliance formed. Nods, shared glances. We were in this together. Greg adapted. Started arriving earlier. I countered, earlier still. It became psychological warfare. Adrenaline surged each time I saw him. What new absurd questions today? One day, brewing water temp, 195, 205 degree ideal, filtration, reverse osmosis, grind sizes for pour-over versus espresso. Another day, pretended ordering for the whole office. 10 complicated drinks, extra shots, no foam, alt milks, specific temps. His shoulders tensed when he spotted me. He'd hesitate mid-stride, check if I was watching. Best part, he never confronted me. How could he? Calling me out meant admitting his own guilt. Trapped by his entitlement. After a solid week, change. I arrived, lined up, waited. Greg entered. Scanned. Looked right at me. And joined the back. No trick. Just waited. My heart leaped. Justice. He continued, patiently waiting daily. No smirk. AirPods out sometimes. Even small talk once with the person ahead. Reformed. I never spoke to him. No need. Message delivered. His routine normalized. Fair. My mornings improved. Not just no cutting, but empowerment. I stood up quietly, pettily, against entitlement. Helplessness to action. Frustration to triumph. Coffee tasted divine. Petty revenge, done right, proportional, clever, forces self-reflection without ugliness. Greg learned, time isn't hierarchical. Disrespectful shortcuts backfire. Quiet people notice. We remember. We retaliate, perfectly annoyingly. I still go daily. Maya's smiley lids. Line forms. People wait. Greg sometimes there, always in line. Occasional eye contact. A flicker, recognition, respect, or imagination. Either way, justice served. One ridiculous question at a time. Whew, that satisfying chill, right?